Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky, and today I'm here with Dave Ramos. Dave, welcome.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
So, Dave, you have 40 years or so of expertise, sales, marketing, strategy. You've now run your own consulting business for about 12 years. And when I look at kind of what you've accomplished and the clients you've worked with, they include the American Red Cross, Long and Foster, Remax, and you've helped some of these companies to even quadruple in size, others double in size, help them to win awards like the best place to work. And now you are the CEO of Shift Points, but your title is also Chief Alignment Officer. I know you're really big on this kind of keyword of alignment. So tell us, what does a Chief Alignment Officer really do, and what does the word alignment mean to you?
Well, thank you, Michael. And we've been, privileged to have the success we've had with our clients. And when I started the consulting business, all of my clients were small companies. And so while the original premise of the business was alignment, really that wasn't their main problem. Their primary problem in our experience was that they were unfocused and undifferentiated. And so a lot of our early work with our first wave of clients was helping them, getting them to be intensely focused and clearly differentiated. And I wrote a book about this called Decide One Thing, which the basic premise is, you have to find that one thing that you can be better than any of your competitors at doing. And that's the thing that really unleashes that. But what we learned, Michael, is that as these companies grow and as we started to work with bigger companies, then alignment became much more of a strategic issue for them. And so the practice has evolved, and now it's really the core of our focus is helping people and companies stay aligned.
Yeah, so I really want to dig into that in terms of like how you got to where you are and what you're currently working on today. But I'm interested. So you kind of mentioned that early on, you weren't necessarily like the clients you're working with weren't actually thinking about alignment. Were you talking about alignment even back then? So you were kind of saying one thing, but the marketplace was wanting something else, or were you focusing on something else when you first launched?
Well, the original code name of the business was aligned.org. And so, in fact, alignment was the focus from the
Yeah,
beginning.
right.
But Michael, I'm kind of an accidental consultant. I came into the consulting business after 6 years of working at a church,
Mm,
which is not the typical launching pad for a consulting business. And to be honest with you, I struggled with that transition from working in the church to being back in the business world.
mm,
And, the clients that I was able to find early on were small companies that knew me from just my network and being around and brought me in to help them with their businesses. But the original idea was alignment.
got it. And because yeah, I mean, your background is executive level positions at IBM and Nortel. I think you're a global marketing VP of global marketing there. How What was that transition like for you? So, I mean, you came out of the corporate world, you then went into nonprofit, and then after the nonprofit, you started dipping your toes back into kind of the business world. It makes sense that the first few clients came from just your networking connections that you had likely built up in the corporate world back in those days, but also maybe nonprofit and community. But that's still like a lot of people know people, but that doesn't necessarily turn into their first few clients. So what was that transition really like for you when you decide, okay, I'm this accidental kind of consultant, I want to get back into building a business? What was that transition like for you to actually now start getting clients? Was it a challenge for you? Was it quite easy and straightforward and clients just came to you? Just walk us through what those early days were like.
Yes. And so I started by trying to buy a consulting firm,
Mm.
and I lost twice in bidding wars. And so I was faced with having to start one myself.
Sorry
And
to jump in, but why did you want
yeah,
to buy a consulting firm?
well, I felt like it would be easier to scale something that existed than
Mm.
create something from scratch. Because really, my expertise, as you pointed out, was working in larger companies. I didn't really think of myself as a kind of blank sheet of paper, start from zero entrepreneur.
Right.
I saw myself as somebody who was really more skilled at scaling an existing
Hmm.
enterprise. So when we lost in the process of trying to buy the company,
Hmm.
essentially I hung out a shingle as an independent consultant. I reached out to a couple of CEOs that I knew. Both of them engaged me. So I started on Monday, and by Wednesday I had two clients.
But okay, I'm going
Now,
to stop you for 1 second there because there's so much that I'd like kind of juice I want to extract from this story. So you identified, was it two different consulting firms that you wanted to purchase, or it was just one that you kind of made multiple bids for?
it's one, and
Okay.
I lost, and then
Yep.
that deal fell through. I bid again, and I lost again.
And what were you like the price you were looking at? I mean, you don't have to say the exact number, but are we talking about like low six figures, high six figures, five figures? What kind of investment were you prepared to make?
Yeah, so this was a consulting business that was doing around $1.2 million in revenue.
Okay.
Okay. And they were looking to sell the business for about one times revenue,
Mm.
which I thought was extremely high.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we bid, I think probably the number was around 750 for the
Okay.
business.
Do you
And
remember what
that
kind of
was
margin that business had? If they were doing
oh, it's
1.2 or
it's a long time ago, but then we felt
okay.
like that was a reasonable price. And then
Mm-hmm.
we lost in that first round. It came back around. I think we ended up offering maybe 850 the second time around, and we lost it again. But this is the tricky thing of valuing consulting businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And so for some of your subscribers and your fans that are ultimately looking to sell their business, it's a tricky thing to sell. And in the case that I'm talking about, the two founders did not want to hang around.
Right.
They wanted to sell it and run.
Yeah.
And so obviously that affected the price I was willing to pay.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have been willing to stay around for, let's say, 2 years, I would have offered them more, obviously, because my risk premium, would
Definitely.
have changed.
Got you. That makes sense. Yeah, we've had a few other people on the show, Laurie Kleiman, John Werlo, who have talked about selling their consulting businesses and the challenges that come with that. Looking back, kind of with hindsight, knowing what you know now, if you were starting again, would you still try and buy another consulting business, or do you think it would was the right kind of place you ended up in terms of just building your own?
Well, I still think that buying a business is a good option, especially for people that don't, they take that long, hard look in the mirror and they say, I'm not a blank sheet of paper entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an improver.
Mm-hmm.
It would be easier for me to take something that's up and running and
Yeah.
exists.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the fact of the matter is building a consulting business is really, really hard. It's a lot of work. You have to develop a methodology. You have to develop a perspective. You have to develop solutions. You have to find clients. You have to, deliver the work. You got to pay the bills and you got to clean the coffee pot, which is why, many consultants are working 60, 70, 80-hour weeks. They maybe got into it as thinking it was a lifestyle business. But at least for me, that hasn't been true.
Got it. So now let's go back to where I just jumped in and cut you off there. You're saying so you made some calls to these CEOs that you knew. You told them what you were now kind of embarking on in terms of hanging out your shingle and becoming a consultant. They gave you some work. You went to work. What happened after those two clients? How did you get the next clients in the door?
Well, it's a great question because after my 3 days in the business, having two clients, I figured, oh, we're good. We're on our way. But in fact, it was much more difficult to find the next wave of clients than I expected to be. Matter of fact, I came to joke that I described selling consulting. I said it's like selling colonoscopies. The CEOs that I would call, like, no, I think we're good. We don't really need anybody poking around right now. Maybe next year.
Yeah.
Okay. And so one of the things I had to learn, Michael, I had to learn how to sell consulting because I had not been in the consulting business in my career before. And frankly, I didn't know how to sell it, and I didn't really know how to be a consultant. I
Right.
was used to being an executive,
Sure.
which is very different.
Yeah. So walk us through what does that mean? I mean, you learn how to sell consulting services. To you, what does that look like? What have you kind of found? If you could break down for us the best practices that you've kind of accumulated over these last 12 years that are just been proven to work exceptionally well, what do they look like? What does that process look like?
Yes. So what we have done is developed an initial offering
Mm-hmm.
that is priced at between 10 and 15,000.
Yep.
Okay, and we call it the pit stop program. For us, it's a strategic offsite meeting where we help the companies refine their strategy and identify what are the things on the dashboard that aren't working so well that we need to fix. And, we facilitate that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found that it's much easier
Mm-hmm.
for the CEO to say, we have brought in Dave to help us with our strategic planning meeting. And because frankly, we don't have time to run it.
Right.
As opposed to having that CEO say, we hired a consultant to ostensibly tell us how to run the business when, we're the guys running it now. And, who is this guy? Why does he think he knows better?
Yeah, this is
And
so
so,
powerful, right? Because you're talking really about like with the coaching clients that we work with, the consultants, we call it a discovery offering, right? I'm sure other people refer to it as well, but it makes the decision-making process so much easier because
yes,
it's tangible. It's not a $50,000 or a $500,000 engagement, right? It's something that's easy to kind of put into a box to understand. There's less financial and time risk associated. So
it's
that makes a lot
exact.
of sense. And I love how you branded. I want to talk more about kind of the branding that you've
Yes,
done with your naming. What do you
yes.
then do with that? So you now have that program. It's very tangible. It makes sense. They want to bring you in to kind of run the strategic planning session rather than them having to figure out how to do it. Then what? How do you get that? How do you get the yes for that? And how do you approach them even for that idea?
Well, there's a couple of things. Number one, they're having the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They're having the strategic planning meeting. So the only question for them is, are they going to do it themselves,
Mm-hmm.
or are they going to have somebody come and help them?
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're having the meeting. They already have it on the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So there's in effect, a tangible date, a tangible offer that we make, a
Mm-hmm.
clear price point, and we call it productizing your service.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
of course, we branded it.
Mm-hmm.
I spent half my life as a chief marketing officer, so we worked really hard on the branding of this.
Love it. Yeah.
And the Pit Stop program is a trademark of mine, so it's one of the things we could explore further is the trademarking and the protection of your intellectual property.
It's on the list to ask you, Dave. So we're going to come to that for sure. I think you've done
so
a great job there. Yeah.
The Pit Stop program is a registered trademark of Shift Points, my company.
Mm-hmm.
And we have found that this makes it easy to sell and easy to buy because it feels like a thing.
Yes.
It's, as you said, it's tangible. It's a reasonable price point.
Yeah.
It solves a problem that they have. And it's really a make versus buy. We can run the meeting ourselves, or we can hire these guys to help us.
So I just want to break that down for a moment. You've done a great job at explaining the value of this and why it actually works, right? In terms of kind of the mindset of the buyer. How are you approaching them? Are you, picking up the phone and calling them? Are you going to networking meetings or events? Are you writing in trade publications? I mean, I know you have some books. We'll talk about that in a few minutes here, but how are you actually getting in front of the decision makers to even be able to tell them or to ask them the question, are you running your strategic planning sessions yourself, or would you like someone to come in and help you with that?
Yeah. So over the course of the years, we've built up a list. We use HubSpot as our marketing automation platform.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have a clear offer that goes out to people. And a lot of our work comes from referrals that, people that know us or whatnot. Yeah. And, that's then it's a matter of, that initial sales call where we can explain to the CEO, look, we do this for a living.
Mm-hmm.
We run these kind of meetings for a living. We've done hundreds of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, really for you, it's the sell is, this is an extremely important meeting. Number one, it's probably the most expensive meeting you're going to have if you add up the executive's time. And it's critical that this meeting accomplish the objectives. Mm-hmm. And we'll typically joke about, what happens in a strategic planning meeting that the company runs, where a group of executives show up in a conference room, they write a bunch of stuff on flip chart paper, and then they go to the bar. Mm-hmm. And that's the typical planning meeting.
Right.
And so everybody chuckles about that, but that's typically what happens.
Right. They can see the value through that kind of illustration or that kind of image.
Correct.
Got you. Yeah. So back to the marketing point there for a moment. So you use HubSpot, right? That's really entailing. So there's content marketing going on. So if I'm understanding you correctly, aside from the relationships that you've built up, you've done things in terms of content on your website that has brought people to the website. You're then offering them different things, which then you're capturing their email address, and then you're able to communicate, build your list that way. And so the offers that you're making, aside from the referrals or maybe the connections you already have with people, it's through the email newsletters or kind of emails that you send out to people, and that then generates an initial phone call with them if they're interested, and that's where you have this conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
We're also very active on social media, LinkedIn in particular.
Okay.
And
What are you doing on LinkedIn that's
so
working for you?
we publish articles on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 90 days, we've been publishing an article every day
Mm-hmm.
because we're doing work around the book promotion. But normally we publish a weekly article,
Okay.
which is about strategy and alignment, the two things we typically focus on.
Right.
And we're also actively posting things, liking other people's work, trying to build relationships with people, kind of socially on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And that's been effective as well.
And when you say we, who are you referring to? Is this an outside kind of like external content team? Is it your internal team? Is it you?
Yes, it's me and one assistant that I have that's helping me primarily with the social media stuff.
Got it. And I saw from your website you have kind of like a partner portal where you can, I guess, certify or bring consultants into, teach them your methodologies and your approach. Just tell us kind of what that looks like, and I'm really interested to find out how that has impacted your business.
Well, so this is something we're just launching,
Yeah.
the partner program. And I think we got to a place where we had to say, how do we scale the business? And there is the traditional approach where you hire associates and we have partners and associates and we're worried about everybody's billable hours and something like that. There's the consulting franchise, and there's a number of consulting franchises or businesses that kind of operate like a franchise.
I know what you mean. Sure. Yeah.
Vistage might be one as an example.
Or Action Coach or something
or
of those.
Action Coach or these where rather than starting from scratch, the people can join that. Our model is different. Really, I think what we're focused on is taking the 12 years of intellectual property, the brand, the methodology, the how we sell, and licensing the platform to consultants on a fixed monthly subscription basis. So the point would be, Michael, if you're going to start a consulting business, there's a long list of things you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to build a brand, you have to get trademarks, you have to develop methodology, PowerPoint templates, sales proposals. There's 100 things on your to-do list, and you can either spend 12 years developing those yourself, or you can write us a check and have it tomorrow.
Right. So that makes sense for someone who really feels the alignment, right, with what you're doing and the area that you're focusing on. So you're kind of taking, like, they can check off the whole methodology and how to kind of engage with clients and have the right materials, the right kind of IP that they can just plug in rather than having to develop that themselves if there's a fit there.
Yes, that's right. And then in addition, they get to leverage the monthly kind of corporate marketing air cover we provide.
Right.
That, whether it's the, LinkedIn, Twitter, the blog, the HubSpot platform, the email outbound campaigns, and all the other things that we're doing. Mm-hmm. And again, the value proposition to a consultant would be, you can do all that yourself, mm-hmm. again, or you can just, if you like the Shift Points brand, you like the framework, if you're passionate about strategic alignment, then this might be a good fit for you. And it might be better than the kind of go it alone and do it yourself option.
Right. Makes sense. Got you. Okay. So that's kind of just getting started. Not much in terms of the impact on the business yet, because it's still early days. Yes. We've talked, Dave, a fair bit about branding and, coming from the corporate world and kind of some senior, executive positions at large organizations, technology organizations. You clearly have a knack for branding. You value it. You've copyrighted, I think maybe even more than one, and trademark more than one term. But you have like the jump stop program, the pit stop program, and the top gear program, if I'm correct.
Correct.
Okay, so you very intentionally developed these names, which I love, and I think I'm in alignment with you. Using that word there again.
Love it.
But explain to everyone why you did that. Why not just call it? Yeah, we do strategic, planning workshops.
So it's a great question. A key reason was that I wanted to differentiate ourselves mm-hmm. from everyone else. So mm-hmm. let me say it this way. There's dozens of other companies that might do strategic planning.
Sure.
We're the only one that has the pit stop program.
Right.
Not only is that a registered trademark of ours, that's our brand. We own that brand. Okay. And it makes it sound, I think, more tangible, more differentiated, more like a productized offering. And in fact, it is.
Right.
And then, we talked about the pit stop program being the entree offering, but obviously my goal was to turn a one-time sale into a long-term retainer. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we developed the brand called the Top Gear program. The idea is you come out of the pits, we're going to shift your company into top gear, it's the racing imagery, and it works for us. It's fun. Right. The clients like it. And that has worked very, very well for us. Mm-hmm. Back to that pit stop meeting where we write a bunch of ideas on flip chart paper, but at the end of the day, we have to actually implement those ideas. Mm-hmm. We can't just leave the flip chart paper rolled up, or maybe somebody types them up and nothing happens.
Right.
So really the Top Gear program is we provide ongoing strategic advice and coaching and, sometimes the kick in the rear that they need to actually implement the things that we wrote on the flip chart paper, and we hold them accountable.
And Dave, so when do you do that? Because many consultants, understand, excuse me, they, the discovery offer, kind of the initial offer going into the larger kind of engagement itself. But I often get questions from clients around, when do you suggest that I bring that up? What does a transition look like? So in your experience, what have you found to be the best way to, when you're working with a client in that initial engagement, to then bring up and move them into the Top Gear, kind of in your case, the Top Gear program? Are you having that conversation even before you do the pit stop program? Or are you doing it at the end of the, of the first day of the pit stop program? Are you doing it afterwards? When are you talking about and really moving them into that next larger engagement?
Well, we included in the proposal of the pit stop program, we include a reference to it, mm-hmm. so that they know that it's, it's not just a pit stop and that's it.
Do you include the pricing of the Top Gear program at that point? Or?
No, typically not, but because the pricing will depend on how much help they need,
Sure.
But we'll talk about that really our ultimate goal is not to run a strategic planning meeting. Our ultimate goal is to transform their business and accelerate their growth and help them, achieve their goals.
Yes.
Okay. And so really, it's in the mix from day one. Mm-hmm. Where we came up with this though is one of the very first pit stops I ever did. Literally at the bar after the meeting, the executives went to the CEO and said, "Boy, can we have Dave hang around for a little while mm-hmm. to help us implement all this stuff?" And so they asked for it, mm-hmm. and that was how I came up with the idea of then kind of positioning this kind of two-part offering: the pit stop and the Top Gear. And it it depends, Michael, in terms of when do I ask for the sale. But for every pit stop, there's kind of if you will, a post-mortem where I'll meet with the CEO and say, how did it go? And where are we on things? And that gives me an opportunity to be back in front of them and say, well, I'd love to keep working with you.
Right.
And can we structure an arrangement that meets your budget requirements where I can provide the right kind of help?
Right.
So
and that's
implement those ideas.
That kind of follow up with the CEO. Are you scheduling that always beforehand? So okay, on Wednesday we're doing the strategic workshop together, the pit stop, and then on Monday of next week we're going to have a phone call to kind of debrief. Is that planned beforehand?
Well, if I was Jill Conrath, I probably would be as structured in my sales process as that. I confess it hasn't always been that disciplined, but that's something that I think we can improve on. And so it's
Fantastic.
A great question, and add something onto my to-do list to
Gotcha. Okay.
to make sure that meeting happens,
because it's so key, right? And what we always see in the process of working with clients, and what we see with our clients as well when they're out there, is if you lose that momentum, right, the longer that it takes to kind of schedule that meeting or come back and debrief, you've just lost a bit of that momentum and the excitement and the freshness that has just happened. So if you can make it happen sooner, it typically leads to higher levels of success in terms of that next engagement.
Yes, it's a great point, and noted. Note to self for me to do a better job in terms of how we're structuring that follow-on conversation and the timing of it and the discipline around it. But yeah, because at the end of the day, you have to. For us, our business has been a mix of these pit stop meetings with the long-term engagements.
Right.
Okay, we're on a given month, we might have a pit stop and then a couple of the long-term Top Gear programs running at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And just trying to juggle, like, how many clients can you juggle at the same time?
Definitely. So Dave, question for you. I mean, you've now been doing this for 12 years. You've been building up the business. You're looking at ways to scale. What has been one of the most kind of recent challenges that you feel you've just been facing? You've been thinking about how do I tackle this? And just a priority for you. What kind of stands out right now as a recent one that you've already overcome or something that you're actively thinking about right now?
Well, we're in the process, as I mentioned, of launching this partner program, and I'll tell you, this will be our third attempt.
Okay.
So I started this idea early on because I felt like it was the right way for me personally to scale the business.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple of consultants signed up right away, and for various reasons, they all washed out. They couldn't sell, they couldn't do the work, they didn't want to do the work, they didn't want to sell, or they just wanted to decide they're going to go get a job.
Right.
And then
Got you.
I tried a second effort right after the launch of my book, Decide One Thing, which is a little over 5 years ago. And again, we had a similar experience where we got a couple of people that are interested, signed up, and didn't work and washed out. So this was going to be our third attempt. So we've changed the business model, as I mentioned, to now it's a subscription-based model as opposed to a percent of revenue. We've changed a bunch of the other things about it. And, obviously I've spent 5 more years developing the intellectual property, the brand, the methodology, the trademarks, written another book. There's a lot more that we can offer to people than I had, either 8 years ago or 5 years ago in our 2 previous attempts.
Got you. Well, when we wrap up here in just some minutes, I have someone that you might want to speak with that could maybe help in that area a little bit or add some value for you. So, but I want to make sure people can learn more about your work, Dave, and also your books. Your latest is Drive One Direction. You studied over 300 companies and interviewed over 100 CEOs. I think there's a lot of value that people can get from diving into that, but also just kind of, learn about your company, see your branding, live in terms of going to your website. So maybe just for everyone listening, tell them where should they go to learn more about you, your books, and your work?
Yeah, so the company's name is Shift Points, like shifting a car, shiftpoints.com. And that's the best place to go. And you'll see all of the things that we talked about in terms of the pit stop and the Top Gear program and how we've structured the brand and that. You'll also see the books. And as you mentioned, the latest book's called Drive One Direction. I'll tell you, when I started the company, Michael, one of my advisors sat me down and he said to me, Dave, you need to develop a methodology and you need to write a book. Now, I as I said, I'd never been a consultant before, so I had no idea about any kind of methodology, and I'd never really written anything. I was in sales and marketing. I didn't really write anything. Plus, I was an accounting major, so I didn't barely write any papers in college. So, but it took a while for me to develop the discipline of writing, and I started writing a blog that was published every Monday. And so after a couple of years, I had 150 blog posts. So okay, I got some material to work with in terms of a book. And so my first book, called Shift Points, was simply a compilation of my 100 best blogs.
Nice.
The next book, Decide One Thing, was about how do you differentiate yourself. And again, it was all the lessons from my first 5 years of consulting around differentiation and focus. And it was really written for a small company CEO, maybe like that's got to $1 million in revenue and is starting to realize, okay, there's a lot more competition and I have to differentiate myself.
Yeah.
Okay. And as we've been in the business, the longer we've been in the business, the larger the size of the clients we've been working with. So early on, they were 10-person companies with $1 million revenue. Now they're more likely to be billion-dollar companies.
Right.
And now their issue is alignment, because here's what happens, Michael, is as companies grow, they create divisions. But divisions, by definition, divide
you. Yeah.
Right. And so the trick for companies, especially in this scale up stage, let's call it between either 10 and 100 million or 100 and a billion,
Mm-hmm.
as they're making this move from being a one product company that might work in one office and serve one market segment
Mm-hmm.
into a company that maybe now has 2 or 3 offices or 5 offices around the country. They have a second product line. Now they have a second general manager. They have a second P&L. So now they've got a
Mm-hmm.
business with 2 P&Ls or 3 P&Ls. And then they expand to Europe. And what happens is that if you don't build the alignment foundation into the business really from day one, these companies grind to a halt because their internal silos become so dysfunctional that eventually, often an outside CEO needs to come in and bring everybody back into alignment. And there's a big organizational restructuring to say, okay, we have to be one team.
Yeah.
And that's what this latest book was about. And I had a lot of fun doing the research, a couple thousand hours probably of work. And, we're excited about what's happening with the new book so far.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're going to make sure that all that's linked up in the show notes here. Dave, thanks again so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Michael, great to be here. Thank you.